Crime and Punishment, 1866, by Fyodor Dostoyevsky is a foundational work of psychological realism that explores the mental anguish and moral transformation of its protagonist, Rodion Raskolnikov. The Crime, Theory and Action. Rodion Raskolnikov is an impoverished former law student living in a tiny, stifling room in St. Petersburg. Isolated and desperate, he develops a dangerous theory that extraordinary men, like Napoleon, have the right to transgress moral laws for a greater humanitarian purpose. The act, to test his status as an extraordinary man and escape poverty, he murders a greedy, worthless pawnbroker, Alyona Ivanovna, with an axe. The complication, unexpectedly, he is forced to kill her innocent, submissive half-sister, Lizaveta, when she stumbles upon the scene. He escapes with minimal loot, which he later hides under a rock without even checking its value. The punishment, psychological turmoil. While the legal punishment comes later, the true torment begins immediately. Raskolnikov descends into a feverish state of paranoia, guilt, and social alienation. The detective, Porfiry Petrovich, an astute police investigator, suspects Raskolnikov and engages him in a series of psychological cat-and-mouse games to provoke a confession. The moral guide, Raskolnikov befriends Sonya Marmeladova, a young woman forced into prostitution to support her destitute, alcoholic family. Her unwavering faith and capacity for suffering eventually provide Raskolnikov with a path to redemption. The foil, the depraved Svidrigailov, serves as a dark reflection of Raskolnikov's nihilistic ideas taken to an extreme. Unlike Raskolnikov, he eventually commits suicide after realizing he cannot find love or purpose. Redemption and resolution. Urged by Sonya to confess and accept suffering to atone for his sin, Raskolnikov finally surrenders to the police. Epilogue: he is sentenced to 8 years of hard labor in Siberia. Sonya follows him there, and it is only through her love and the slow shedding of his Superman theory that he begins a genuine spiritual and moral rebirth. Core themes: nihilism and extraordinary man theory, critique of radical ideologies that place human reason above moral law. Suffering as redemption, the Dostoevskian belief that one must embrace suffering to find true moral clarity. Alienation, the psychological cost of separating oneself from humanity. Fyodor Dostoyevsky's Crime and Punishment is the story of Rodion Raskolnikov, a destitute ex-student in St. Petersburg who murders a pawnbroker to test his theory that extraordinary men can transgress moral laws, only to be consumed by guilt, paranoia, and eventual redemption through confession and love. Core plot summary. Protagonist, Rodion Romanovich Raskolnikov, a poor, intelligent, but unstable former student in 1860s St. Petersburg. The crime: he murders Alyona Ivanovna, a greedy pawnbroker, believing her death would benefit society. Unexpectedly, he also kills her innocent sister Lizaveta when she stumbles upon the scene. Immediate aftermath: Raskolnikov hides the stolen goods, falls into illness and delirium, and begins to unravel psychologically. His erratic behavior draws suspicion. Key characters and relationships. Sonya Marmeladova, a humble, devout young woman forced into prostitution to support her family. She becomes Raskolnikov's moral compass and confidant. Razumikin, Raskolnikov's loyal friend who cares for him during his illness. Porfiry Petrovich, the clever police investigator who suspects Raskolnikov and engages him in psychological duels. Dunya, Avdotya Romanovna Raskolnikov's sister, whose troubled engagement to Luzin and harassment by Svidrigailov highlight themes of exploitation and dignity. Svidrigailov, a morally corrupt man who attempts to manipulate Dunya and ultimately commits suicide. Themes and motifs. Moral philosophy: Raskolnikov's theory that extraordinary individuals may commit crimes for the greater good is tested and ultimately disproven. Psychological torment: the novel explores guilt, paranoia, and the destructive effects of isolation. Redemption through suffering: Sonya's compassion and Christian faith guide Raskolnikov toward confession and spiritual renewal. Social critique: Dostoevsky portrays poverty, exploitation, and the struggles of marginalized individuals in 19th-century Russia. Resolution: Raskolnikov confesses to Sonya and eventually to the authorities. He is sentenced to Siberian penal servitude. Sonia follows him, offering unwavering support. In the epilogue, Raskolnikov begins a spiritual awakening, suggesting redemption through suffering and love. Why it matters. Crime and Punishment is not just a crime novel, it's a profound psychological and philosophical exploration of morality, justice, and redemption. It remains influential for its deep character study, existential themes, and depiction of the human conscience under. You can get this book from this blog. https://manhoodschool.blogspot.com